Yeah, we'll just change this to string. I think this would be the easiest way of doing it. Let's test this very quickly. So the testing of this thing. So in case if we have any issues with this way of computing the expression, let's just try some kind of garbage input, say add, and now you're seeing that this is what it gives me. So now if the expression is caught, this is what it prints. Runtime exception, bad input, da 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 da. So so that's fine, right? So this is relative. So you can always tweak it to improve the messaging, user interface, and all sorts of options. But this should, in essence, demonstrate to you how is it possible to plug in this already. I just find this to be much more fun to be able to construct any sort of expression that I like any way I want, and be able to plug it into the working model of user interface, and be able to just this gives us pretty decent flexibility in terms of what is possible to do, and expands the horizon, I guess, for gives a pretty solid platform to this little application that demonstrates our initial use of graphical user interface. We could say that we're already done, but you can only add other buttons if you like, as many buttons as you like to this application to have more options available to the user. And what I like to do right now is to actually convert this application to a solid model view controller platform. I always spoke about the importance of following the guideline of using model view controller anytime model view controller architecture or model view controller organization of the application if we have graphical user interface. And once again, the true reason for something like that would be it would be just the reason that if we have I'm trying to find my cursor here. Okay, so if I have a graphical user interface, right, application, I should be able to recognize that I have very likely I have those business objects which implement let me resize this so I can type some info here. Implementing what? Implementing business rules, formulas, right? Like math formulas, processing algorithms, for example, sort, I don't know, sort, binary search, and all sorts of things, right? So these things clearly do not belong to graphical user interface. And we have to be very careful about this, and we need to recognize that we'd like to keep this business logic, computation, and the rest of the implementation to be completely independent from the graphical user interface. To do this, what we do is that we provide this clear separation line between the graphical user interface and business objects. By the way, the AST node, the Lexer, the token stream, all of these classes are business objects with respect to this current situation that we're having, right? So let's just say that so for example, we have this Lexer token stream. We have AST node. All these types of classes belong to business tier, right? So we call this, there could be a few names for this. People refer to this as, the meaning is exactly the same. The data model would be one name. Another name would be business tier or data tier. These are all names for the same thing. And this is typically referred to as presentation tier. Okay. So these are the recognizable layers or tiers in our application design. In realistic applications, this also includes something else that normally is present, also persistent storage tier, same thing, right? And on diagrams, we sometimes show like a database, right? If we have like a database, typically is like shown on diagrams as a cylinder, right? So we have this kind of like cylinder thing that we use for to show that this is a database tier, right? So just making it more or less clean for our demo, like this, right? Okay, so this is a depiction of a database. So we did have a database part of our application. So that would be sitting in a separate tier. Typically, you want to also not mix your business tier, which is probably the most valuable part, from the database tier. So although you can have lots of logic implemented inside the databases, store procedures, transactions, and other organizational parts of the modern relational database, but the actual business objects that making computations during runtime, you want to recognize them that they belong to a separate tier. So let's take a short break, and after break we will continue with our discussion and we'll implement this architecture in our project. Just